Main event of the evening.
Ready to race to you. These days are
Hello and welcome to These Days Are Ours, a Happy Days podcast. I'm Peter.
And I'm Joe.
And today we are discussing episode 2 of The Fonz and the Happy Days Gang. May the Farce be with you.
Okay, Peter, tell us what happens in May the Farce be with you.
Fonzie is fixing the time machine, and Cupcake tries to help it with a zap. It works. Sort of.
Did I do that?
It's about to send them back to 1957 when Mr. Cool kisses the display and sends them to 2057. Cupcake is optimistic. At least there they can find someone to fix the time machine. The only problem is, they're not going to Earth. Their ship is being pulled by a tractor beam into a massive spaceship.
Something tells me it isn't the Marines.
Robots escort them out onto a conveyor belt to meet Electra 6000, who turns out to be a sexy lady robot with a robot dog. Upon seeing Fonzie, her eyes flash red because she's entering horny mode.
You have done very well, Turcon 150. Very, very well.
And the dog takes a liking to Mr. Cool. The jealous Cupcake tries to zap Electra, only for it to ricochet off of her robot boobs and hit Mr. Cool. The rest of the gang is taken away by the robot guards, leaving Fonzie alone with Electra.
Where you taking my friend?
They will be taken care of. And so will you.
Do me a favor, will you strip your gears and listen up?
He's not into this, claiming he likes to keep his women and his machines separate. Cupcake, Richie, and Ralph are trapped in see-through tubes, which the spaceship uses to shoot its trash into space. Once the guards leave, Cupcake tries to zap them out, and only succeeds in turning them all upside down.
You turn things around all right, Cupcake.
Meanwhile, Electra tells Fonzie she's going to destroy Earth, and Fonzie will be her king. He is still not into it, and when a robot guard tries to stop him, he just throws it away and goes to find his friends.
Listen, I'm sorry, you hunk of junk, but you listen to me next time.
He gets them out of the tubes, and Cupcake successfully zaps the door open. Richie doesn't want to leave with the Earth still in danger, but Fonzie has plans. They steal a Starjet, which Fonzie is able to fly. Other Starjets flown by robots give chase, and Fonzie flies towards the moon. 2 of the other jets crash into moon stalactites, and one gets trapped in a crater. From her ship, Electra vows that in 24 hours, there'll be cosmic dust. The gang land on the moon, with Cupcake successfully creating space helmets so they don't suffocate.
Gee, I don't know, Fonz. These things just look like goldfish bowls.
Richie is amazed that they're the first Earth people on the moon. Well, as far as he knows. Mr. Cool, unused to the moon's lower gravity, accidentally throws himself into the path of the robots like a bowling ball. He destroys them, and gives Fonzie an idea of how to get into the mothership. Wearing the robot's parts, they sneak in and hear Electra declaring the Earth will be destroyed in 6 hours. Fonzie sends Richie and Ralph to find the time machine, while he, Cupcake, and Mr. Cool go to stop her. Fonzie reprograms another guard robot to spin away, and Mr. Cool also does it to the other guard robot. In Electra's throne room, she realizes there's something familiar about one of the new robots. Her robo-dog knocks out their disguises, and Cupcake pulls a lever to destroy the destruction ray, but instead it brings in another guard robot. Cupcake tries to zap Fonzie a suit of armor, but all it does is put a bucket of water on his foot.
Cupcake, a foot of armor ain't gonna help.
Richie and Ralph find the time machine, guarded by more robots. Richie claims the 2 of them are USO entertainers, and does a little tap dance that causes his disguise to fall apart. Ralph throws down a smoke bomb, and the robots run off to find them, while Richie and Ralph get into the machine.
Lucky thing I always carry a smoke bomb with me.
You've got a lot of class, Ralph.
Fonzie throws the bucket of water onto the robot attacking him, causing it to short out. Electra once again offers him a place by her side,
Together we could rule the universe.
and Fonzie decides this calls for a subtle approach, so he kisses her, which causes her to fall apart. Then he pulls the other lever, saving Earth. Thanks to Mr. Cool running away from the robot dog, the other guard robots find them. Fonzie tells them he's nobody's prisoner, and with a single hit to one's chest, knocks them all over. Reunited in the time machine, the gang tries to get back to 1957. Not that anyone really has any faith in Cupcake.
Then I can get us back to 1957.
Yeah, we've all heard that before, Cupcake.
Also, the robot dog followed them on board.
Thank you, Peter. That was May the Farce be with you. It first aired back on November 15th, 1980. It was followed by the second episode of the Richie Rich Scooby-Doo show. In this episode, Scooby and Shaggy are stowaways on a ship. Again, CBS aired Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner cartoons.
It's cartoon gold for young and old. It's the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner Show.
Well, NBC aired Fred and Barney Meet the Shmoo, which was in reruns by then. The Flintstones' new show, The Flintstone Comedy Hour, was a week away from premiering. So of those shows, Peter, what are you watching?
I have not seen any of these shows in years, but objectively I can say that Bugs Bunny Roadrunner is the best one.
This week, because it was an outer space story, I might have been tempted to watch the Happy Days show. May the Farce Be With You was directed by George Gordon, Carl Urbano, and Rudy Zamora, and it was written by Barry Blitzer, Ray Parker, Dwayne Poole, and Tom Swale. As for songs this week, during the space jet scene, we hear some recycled music from Hoyt Curtin's score from Challenge of the Super Friends.
Follow them.
Two down, three to go.
It was music that I heard many, many times growing up. That so that was always very exciting to hear. As for cultural and historical references, obviously the title of the episode is a reference to Star Wars. Technically, what Obi-Wan Kenobi says in that first film is,
"The Force will be with you, always."
But lots of other Star Wars characters in other movies have said, "May the Force be with you," including Han Solo,
May the Force be with you.
Princess Leia,
May the Force be with you.
and Yoda.
May the Force be with you.
And young Obi-Wan says it too.
May the Force be with you.
Ralph mentions a movie called The Flying Saucer That Ate the Bronx.
Fonz, it's just like in the movie. The flying saucers that ate the Bronx.
There is no movie like this, and we've talked about the blank that ate blank trope. What's weird is that only parodies have titles like this. There is no historical precedent, i.e., a real 1950s monster movie with such a title.
Everyone is referencing the parodies and not the actual thing.
The one Happy Days character who might presumably be alive in 2057 is Heather Pfister. She'd be in her late 90s, and I had an idea for an episode where somehow Fonzie goes to the year 2057 and he meets a nonagenarian Heather Pfister who still recognizes him.
That would either be incredibly sweet or incredibly sad.
I would want it to be a little bit of both. Fonzie says Electra 6000 sounds like a vacuum cleaner.
Electra 6000?
Yeah, sounds like a vacuum cleaner.
This is a joking reference to Electrolux, a Swedish company that makes a whole line of home appliances. In America, they're best known for vacuum cleaners.
The Olympia 1. Expect a lot. It's an Electrolux.
But they make washers, dryers, and refrigerators too. I was starting to think that maybe the Electrolux reference might be lost on today's viewers. Do people still know that name?
I did not know, or at least I had forgotten it. It did go a little bit over my head.
The Electrolux company needs to step up their game because people are forgetting about them. The names Electra and Phaedra both come from Greek mythology.
And maybe tell you about Phaedra.
Electra was the daughter of Agamemnon, and together with her brother Orestes, avenged his death. Phaedra, on the other hand, was the wife of Theseus and fell in love with her stepson Hippolytus. So what was your thought on characters named Electra and Phaedra in this episode?
Electra is one of those names that gets used a lot for characters who have an electricity or technology theme, because even though the original person had nothing to do with it, it sounds like electricity, so that's how it gets used. Like in the musical Gypsy, where one of the strippers is named Electra because her gimmick is that she's covered in electric lights.
I'm electrifying, and I'm not even trying.
I think there's at least one character named Elektra in Marvel Comics. I think she's related to Spider-Man's Electro in some way. I did like that they gave the robot dog a name that is in keeping with the theming of Elektra, even though I'm not sure why the alien robot went with that naming, unless Elektra and her forces were built by human beings, and the name Elektra in that case also serves as a reference to her own Elektra complex regarding the human beings who created her.
I think you cracked this episode wide open, Peter. Although her name is Greek, Phaedra's design is clearly based on ancient Egyptian statues, specifically the Anubis Shrine, which was buried with King Tut. Phaedra looks exactly like them, so somehow they were also confusing ancient Greece with ancient Egypt here, maybe?
Or maybe they just figured that there weren't really any really iconic images of dogs from a Grecian or Roman art standpoint, and they figured, well, they're aliens anyway.
Yeah, maybe the aliens are just taking things from all of human civilization and all of human culture.
Like that one episode of Futurama, where the aliens were inspired by ancient Egyptian pyramids.
Your words guide us.
We're dumb.
Fonzie says, up, up, and away.
Up, and away.
This famous catchphrase was created for Superman's radio show in 1940. It was intended to help listeners understand that Superman was flying.
Up, and away!
I hadn't really thought of that either, but yeah, that makes perfect sense.
He doesn't still say that, though, does he?
No, he doesn't.
That would be really corny if in 2024 he was still saying up, up, and away. Fonzie tells Cupcake that she should try double clutching a 48 pickup.
Hey, you think this is tough, Cupcake? You should try double clutching a 48 pickup. Hey.
Double clutching is a driving technique that involves using the clutch pedal twice during a single shift between gears. It's used in manual transmission vehicles when powering into a corner or accelerating quickly to overtake someone.
But they thought they'd double clutch it for you.
As for the 48 pickup, Fonzie doesn't specify a manufacturer, but he probably means Chevrolet or Ford. Ralph says, I asked you not to tell me that.
I asked you not to tell me that.
That old joke seems to go back to Don Adams as Maxwell Smart on the 1960s spy spoof, Get Smart. Richie says that he and his friends are the first Earth people to land on the moon.
Wow, Fonzie, we're the first Earth people to land on the moon.
Which, from his perspective, is true, since Richie only knows history up to 1957. But Neil Armstrong might have something to say about it.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
That was my favorite joke in the episode.
Cupcake says the moon's gravity is only a fraction of what it is on Earth.
Careful, Cole. The moon's gravity is only a fraction of what it is on Earth.
She's correct. It's about 1/6 of the Earth's gravitational pull, so a little bit of science is correct in this episode.
Slow down, Tubby. You're not on the moon yet.
When Fonzie and the gang disguise themselves as robots to sneak aboard the ship, this is a trope known as dressing as the enemy, famously used in Star Wars. Although my favorite example is from The Wizard of Oz.
I've got a plan how to get in there. Fine. He's got a plan, and you're going to lead us. Yeah.
Do you like that trope where they dress up as the guards?
Yes, and I'm going to concur. My favorite version of that is Wizard of Oz.
What happened to those guards that got beat up?
Well, their boss got killed, so I think it's fair to say that they'll be all right.
Are they just nude? There's 3 nude Winkies out there.
Hopefully they were wearing underwear.
Richie says he and Ralph are USO entertainers.
It's okay. We're, USO entertainers. You know, a little tap dancing.
Since 1941, the United Service Organization has been providing live entertainment to military personnel and their families.
In jungle centers or wherever there's GI life, there's hope.
And Fonzie says, prepare for your Saturday bath, Turcan.
Prepare for your Saturday bath, Turcan.
Saturday night baths were a tradition in rural households until indoor plumbing and water heaters became more common in the 20th century. Saturdays were chosen so that farmers and their children could be clean for church services on Sunday morning.
Edie always used to be the first one in the bathtub Saturday night.
Fonzie says that the approaching robots sound like 78 records.
Catch the intruder.
Sounds like a company of 78 records coming.
Phonograph records used to spin at 78 revolutions per minute, but eventually the 45 RPM single and the 33 1/3 RPM album took over in the 1950s.
The invaders are armed with 33s and 45s and all have records.
Fonzie tells Cupcake to shoot for any year with a malt shop.
All right, now, Cuppers, I want you to concentrate and let's shoot for any year with a malt shop.
You got it, Fonzie.
The first such venues started popping up in the early 1900s, beginning in 1903. They started becoming teenage hangouts in the 1930s and 40s, largely because of the addition of jukeboxes. And of course, this is essential to Happy Days. When do you think the malt shop lost its grip on teenage America? Sometime in the 60s and 70s?
I feel like it was sometime in the early 70s. Given the centrality of the jukebox to it, I suspect it might have been around the time that portable radios became more popular.
Yeah.
Now you don't have to go to the malt shop or sit in your car and listen to the jukebox or the radio. You can stay at home or go to the park or something.
Yeah, the portable radio probably killed the malt shop.
Portable radio killed the malt shop is my favorite Buggles song.
That's very specific. But the Saved by the Bell kids, they went to a malt shop, didn't they?
Oh yeah, they did. But given that that was the 90s, I feel like that was a conscious throwback.
And so did the kids on Beverly Hills 90210, for that matter. Nobody in my high school did anything similar to that, and yet the kids on the 2 big teen shows, 90210 and Saved by the Bell, they were going to malt shops all the time. I think it's because older people were making the shows, and they were like, that's what kids do, right? They go to the malt shop after school every day.
Exactly.
Other observations this week. When Richie says, I'm going to be real late for dinner.
I'm going to be real late for dinner.
It made me think of the Cunninghams and their family dinners.
Yeah.
When the characters look out the window of the time machine and are horrified by what they see.
Oh, no.
It's impossible.
I don't get what they're so upset about. Is it the Earth from space? Aren't they always in space? Are they too far out in space? Is that the problem?
I think so, yeah. Also, they're being tractor beamed by a giant spaceship, so.
Is there some specific reason Elektra is destroying the Earth?
You're gonna what?
Destroy the Earth. It is our mission.
Are you kidding?
There is not, no. She just doesn't like people.
Fonzie can still say correctamundo on this show.
Correctamundo, Ralph.
Which he wasn't doing on the live-action Happy Days by this point. So when Fonzie tells Richie in Welcome Home, I haven't said correctamundo in a long time, well, he had. It was just on another show.
Remember when we were traveling through time and I used to say correctamundo?
You'd think that would come up in their conversations later. Voice actor Bob Holt does his Grape Ape voice in both of the first 2 episodes of this show.
I am Grape Ape.
He does it as a caveman in the first one, and he does it as a robot here.
What is wrong? Where are you going?
The voice cast list for Fonz and the Happy Days gang is bonkers.
It is a great opportunity to point and say, I know that actor from another Hanna-Barbera show.
They brought in the Hanna-Barbera All-Stars here. You got Michael Bell and John Stevenson and obviously Frank Welker. But there's all kinds of other people in it, like Rick Dees, the Disco Duck guy, and Ken Mars from The Producers and Young Frankenstein is in the voice cast. Peter, I am still keeping track of the things that Cupcake says. Here were her catchphrases from this episode. Jumpin' Jupiter, Galloping Galaxy, Moon Craters, twice she says that.
Moon craters.
Shooting Stars, Leap and Liftoff, and Cosmic Comets. Of those, Peter, did you have any particular favorites? I had one.
Leaping Liftoff was my favorite because of just how nonsensical it was. That's one of those things that's like barely space themed.
That's my favorite as well. I'm still keeping track of the times that Mr. Cool makes things better and the times Mr. Cool makes things worse. There were 2 times he made things better in this episode. Number 1, he accidentally but helpfully finds a viewing screen on the spaceship.
How cool, you found a viewing screen. Earth dead ahead.
And number 2, he falls into a moon crater, accidentally knocking out several robot guards and giving Fonzie the idea for a plan to get into the mothership. But here are the times he makes things worse. Number 1, he briefly takes over steering the space jet and makes it go in loops. Number 2, he gives away their true identity when they're in disguise as robots. And number 3, he again attracts the attention of guards when he starts bouncing around. But overall, I will say that this week is a win for Mr. Cool. Were there any outstanding Happy Days fashions in May the Farce Be With You?
I found the robot part disguises they had to be very fun, in large part because they do not actually cover their entire bodies. They'll be wearing part of a robot's head, part of a robot's torso, some arms and legs. It feels like it wouldn't actually work, unless it's one of those things where, like, they're doing it strategically to just enough to, like, fool the robots.
Richie especially, he is barely trying to disguise himself as a robot, but it still works for a few seconds. And I think, it must be because the other robots are just kind of dumb. Just because they're robots doesn't necessarily mean they're smart. So, Peter, I will ask that age-old timeless question. Was this episode any good?
This is one weird 20 minutes of television. We've gone from a realistic-ish show to a show where, there's a murderous alien robot who looks like a sexy lady and wants to do sex things with Fonzie, even though she's a robot and he is a squishy human. And she has a dog who wants to do sex things with Mr. Cool. Don't think about that too hard. I have so many questions, and they will never be answered. I have to live with that, and so do you.
This episode definitely raises a lot of questions, but I had so much fun watching it that I didn't mind having to screen it several times to review it for this podcast. Personally, I love space stories way more than I love caveman stories, so episode 2 was a big improvement over King for a Day in my book, because this one you've got space jets and robots, and there's a moment when Fonzie is flying the space jet out of the mothership and the doors are just about to close, and that felt very Star Wars-y to me. That felt like something that the Millennium Falcon would do.
Something I did appreciate about this episode is that it does feel like the entire cast got like a little moment to shine. Fonzie is doing most of the work. He beats up robots, he flies star jets, but you do also get Richie and Ralph managing to get back the time machine from the robots, and Cupcake does successfully zap a wall, and even Mr. Cool is sort of helpful in this episode. Throughout this show, Fonzie is the one doing most of the cool stuff, because he's the Fonz. So I did appreciate that in this episode, everyone got a little moment to shine.
Overall, I had a blast watching May the Farce Be With You. if the rest of the series is as fun as this one, getting through however many episodes there are of the Fonz and the Happy Days gang should be a breeze. So, Peter, how can people keep up with us and find out about all the wonderful things that we are doing?
Listeners can follow me on Blue Sky at petervillafranc.bsky.social.
And they can follow me on Blue Sky at joeblevins.bsky.social. They can find this podcast online at thesedaysaroours.libsyn.com, and they can email us with questions, comments, and concerns at thesedaysaroourspodcast@gmail.com. And somebody recently did that and sent me the entire unaired second pilot for Happy Days recently.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Thank you to that viewer who did that. So, Peter, what do we have on the docket next time we talk?
Next time, we are going back in time to ancient Persia in Arabian Nights. That's Nights with a K.
That sounds like it could be problematic, but we'll get to it. So, see you later, alligator.
In a while, crocodile.
I am your automatic lover. Automatic lover. I am your automatic lover. I am your automatic lover. Automatic lover. I am your automatic lover. Automatic lover.
Love in space and time. There's no more feeling. Automated code, another feeling.
Cosmic comets.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, go on.
And cosmic